20 million tons of water. That's the weight of what's about to hit Johnstown, Pennsylvania in the next 4 seconds. It's May 31st, 1889, 3:10 in the afternoon. A wall of water 40 feet high is moving down the Little Conemaugh River Valley at 40 miles per hour. It carries with it houses, barns, locomotives, and 30 tons of barbed wire from the Cambria Iron Works. The wire will wrap around survivors and corpses alike. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Rewind. Johnstown sits in a narrow valley in the Allegheny Mountains, 70 miles east of Pittsburgh. 2 rivers meet here, the Little Conemaugh and Stony Creek. The valley floor is only 800 feet wide at its narrowest point. By 1889, 30,000 people live in this geography. They work in steel. The Cambria Iron Works employs most of the town. It's a company town in a company era, and business is good. 14 miles upstream and 500 feet above the valley floor sits the South Fork Dam. It's old. The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania built it in 1853 to feed water to the Pennsylvania Canal system. The dam stands 72 feet high and stretches 931 feet across the Little Conemaugh. Behind it sits Lake Conemaugh, a reservoir covering 450 acres. When full, it holds 20 million tons of water. The canal system becomes obsolete. The railroad wins. The state sells the dam. It changes hands several times, falling into disrepair. Then, in 1879, a group of wealthy Pittsburgh businessmen buy the property. They call themselves the South Fork Fishing and Hunting Club. The membership roster reads like a directory of Gilded Age power. Andrew Carnegie, Henry Clay Frick, Andrew Mellon, Philander Knox, 61 members total. They want a summer retreat, a place to fish for black bass. They make modifications. They lower the dam's crest by 2 feet. This widens the road across the top so 2 carriages can pass. It also reduces the dam's spillway capacity. They remove the cast iron discharge pipes at the base, the ones that would allow controlled release of water during emergencies. The pipes are heavy, and removing them is easier than repairing them. Then they install fish screens across the spillway. Iron grates to keep the expensive stocked bass from escaping. The screens trap debris. In 1881, Daniel Morrell sends a letter. Morrell runs the Cambria Iron Works. He's the most powerful man in Johnstown. He hires an engineer to inspect the dam. The engineer reports serious concerns about the structural integrity. The center of the dam sags. The repairs are amateur. The discharge system is gone. Morrell writes to the club's leadership. He warns them the dam could fail. The club thanks him for his concern. They do nothing. Johnstown floods regularly, minor floods. The rivers rise, the streets fill with a few feet of water. People move their furniture upstairs, the water recedes. Residents are accustomed to this. When someone mentions the dam, they shrug. They've heard warnings before. May 1889 brings rain. Serious rain. A storm system stalls over the Alleghenies on May 30th. 6 to 10 inches fall in 24 hours. The rivers rise. Lake Conemaugh rises. By morning on May 31st, the water is only 4 feet below the dam's crest and climbing fast. Colonel Elias Unger is the club's president on site. He sees the danger. He orders men to dig an additional spillway. The ground is too rocky. He sends riders to warn the valley. Telegraph lines are down from the storm. The message reaches South Fork, the town just below the dam. Some residents flee to high ground. The message does not reach Johnstown. By early afternoon, the lake is level with the top of the dam. Water pours over the crest. The center begins to sag. At 3:10 p.m., the dam gives way, not gradually. All at once, the entire center section collapses. Lake Conemaugh empties in approximately 45 minutes. The leading edge of the flood carries the full force. The wall of water leaves the dam at 3:10 in the afternoon. It is half a mile wide. It is 40 feet high. It is moving at 40 miles per hour, and it is carrying 20 million tons of lake. The flood reaches South Fork Village in 4 minutes. It obliterates a railroad bridge, swallows homes whole and keeps moving. The valley funnels everything forward. The wave has nowhere to go but down. At Mineral Point, 2 miles below the dam, the water slams into a stone viaduct. The impact is so violent, the wave rebounds, scouring both banks. 30 houses vanish. The debris field grows. Trees rip from hillsides. Railroad cars lift off their tracks. The flood is no longer just water. It is a rolling avalanche of wreckage moving at the speed of a freight train. East Conmore sits 7 miles from the dam. The town has 16 minutes of warning. Engineer John Hess ties down the whistle of locomotive number 1124 and runs it backward toward the flood, screaming the alarm. Some people reach the hillside. Most do not. 28 train workers die. 50 passengers on a stranded day express are swept away. The locomotive that sounded the warning is never found. The wave gathers 300,000 feet of barbed wire from the Gautier Wire Works. Miles of steel thread braid into the debris mass. The flood now cuts as it crushes. Woodvale is next. The town has a population of 1,000. The flood erases it in 90 seconds. 314 people die, nearly a third of everyone who lived there. The Woodvale Woolen Mill, a massive brick structure, disintegrates. Its wreckage joins the wave. At 4:07 in the afternoon, 57 minutes after the dam broke, the flood reaches Johnstown. The city sits at the confluence of 2 rivers, in a bowl of hills, with nowhere to drain. 16,000 people live there. The wave is now 35 feet high, traveling at 15 miles per hour, carrying houses, locomotives, and industrial machinery. It hits the city from the northeast and spreads through the streets in 10 minutes. Water rises to second-story windows. Whole neighborhoods lift off their foundations and float into the current. Below Johnstown stands the Pennsylvania Railroad's Stone Bridge, a massive arched viaduct built to withstand anything. The flood cannot break it. Instead, debris stacks against the spans. Houses pile on houses, trees, railroad cars, factory equipment, human bodies. The wreckage forms a dam of its own, 30 feet high and covering 30 acres. Then it catches fire. Spilled oil and coal ignite. Survivors trapped in the debris mass begin to burn. 80 people die in the flames that night, pinned in the wreckage, unable to escape. Rescuers can hear them. They cannot reach them. The final death toll is 2,209 confirmed dead. 99 entire families are erased from existence. 396 children under the age of 10 perish. Bodies wash downstream for months. Some are recovered as far away as Cincinnati, 370 miles from Johnstown. Clara Barton arrives on June 5th with 50 doctors and nurses. She is 67 years old. This is the first major peacetime disaster relief operation by the American Red Cross. Barton stays 5 months. She builds hotels to house the homeless. She distributes over $500,000 in aid. An investigation concludes that the South Fork Fishing and Hunting Club's alterations directly caused the dam's failure. The lowered crest, the removed discharge pipes, the fish screens blocking the spillway. Survivors file lawsuits against the club members. Every case fails. Pennsylvania courts rule the flood an act of God. Andrew Carnegie pays nothing. Henry Clay Frick pays nothing. Andrew Mellon pays nothing. No member of the club is ever held financially or criminally liable. The disaster reshapes American engineering. States begin passing dam safety regulations. The profession develops new standards for earth and dam construction. The Johnstown Flood National Memorial is established in 1964. In Grandview Cemetery, there is a section called The Plot of the Unknown. 777 victims lie there. They were never identified. They have no names. They have only the date.